our panel for the first time on this Monday morning. We start with political analyst and Project 21 member Donna Jackson back with us this morning. The executive director of USA Strong, Erin Elmore, is here, and political analyst Mark Halpern back with us as well. Three topics that I'd like to get to, panel, this morning. I want to talk a little bit about the infrastructure bill. I want to talk about the situation in Georgia, and then I would like to talk about Hunter Biden. But why don't we start with the infrastructure bill? President Biden is reportedly going to invite Republicans to the White House this week. He hasn't indicated who he's going to invite or when this week, but he did say that he would. So we'll keep an eye out for that. But yesterday, boy, we saw a lot of Pete Buttigieg and many from the Biden team out there banging the gong, trying to drum up support for this bill. I want to play a soundbite from Pete Buttigieg yesterday where he's talking about the corporate tax rate and how raising it is a good thing. Take a listen.
The division the president has put forward is fully paid for. Across 15 years, it would raise all of the revenue needed for these once-in-a-lifetime investments. So by year 16, you'd actually see this package working to reduce the deficit.
Agree with Mark. Does this bill have support? I don't think this is going to have a lot of support, at least on the GOP side in the House and Senate.
Because it doesn't really support infrastructure. He's completely correct here. This is really the Green New Deal, let's face it. And by the way, free community college is also in an infrastructure bill. That makes no sense. Although it's a noble endeavor to help out historically black colleges, making that free is also part of the infrastructure bill, free or at least close to free. These are not issues that the American people need to have resolved immediately. Yes, our power grids need to be updated. Roads, bridges, those are actual infrastructure projects. But we've heard cries from the left about air quotes, racist highways and things of that nature. This is not what our federal government is taxed with doing. We need a federal government that will actually fix the problems that we have. We have bridges that are moments away from collapsing. Let's focus on the actual issues at hand as opposed to pie-in-the-sky ideas that don't help our hardworking, tax-paying Americans.
All right, Roy Blunt, Missouri Senator, Donna, he was out yesterday speaking as well, and he talked about the type of support this bill could see from the GOP when it does reach the Senate. Take a listen, then we'll get some reaction.
When people think about infrastructure, they're thinking about roads, bridges, ports, and airports. That's a very small part of what they're calling an infrastructure package.
Question, I'm gonna answer it, but do you know how many drop boxes there were in Georgia during the 2018 elections?
None.
Yeah, absolutely right. There were zero. There were zero for the special elections in 2019 either. Drop boxes were only implemented in 2020 to make it easy for the good folks of Georgia to vote because we were in the middle of a deadly pandemic, and they are not being eliminated by this bill. They are just tightening the number a little bit.
Well, also, Rob, there's a lot of issues with what the MLB organization has done. First of all, if they purport to care about minorities, did they survey all of their minority players before deciding to make this decision? Also, I believe that this is going to cost the city of Atlanta, which has a very high minority population, about $100 million. That's going to impact the African-American community. Also, if they care about access to voting, where are they going to go? I certainly hope they don't go to New York, because New York has more restrictive voting than the state of Georgia. So they have really gotten themselves into a quandary here as a baseball organization. And let's say they go to a blue state, which they better after the hell they've raised, if I may say so. They're going to have more restrictive COVID rules, fewer people in the stands, fewer tickets sold, fewer concessions. So this is really cutting your nose to spite your face. MLB has struck out. That is my only sports analogy that I know.
That's pretty good. I like that, Erin. Mark, I know you're a Red Sox fan. Look, I'm a Red Sox fan too. I didn't watch a lot of baseball this weekend. I'm glad I didn't. They were swept. They lost all 3 games. It was a rough weekend for the Bo Sox. Jackson, executive director of USA Strong, Erin Elmore here, and political analyst Mark Halpern back with us. Erin, we'll get some reaction from you. The interview yesterday, when he's talking about drinking vodka for 13 days and not sleeping, and the Parmesan cheese clip that has been everywhere now, and Emerald just played it. He said he's probably smoked more Parmesan cheese because he was digging in the carpet for crack. You feel bad for Hunter Biden because he struggled very clearly with addiction, and it's still something that he's battling in his life. But then there are the other parts of this where you feel bad. He lost his mom and his sister when he was just 2 years old. His older brother Bo was 3 years old, and Joe Biden was sworn in to the Senate by their hospital bed, and your heart goes out to him. But on the other hand, there are very challenging questions and difficult questions that I think were not asked yesterday.
No, that certainly wasn't any hard-hitting journalism, and you touched on it very well. It is very sad what Hunter has been through, but a lot of people have been through very sad things, and we do have to realize there is sadness and there is grieving, but there's also personal responsibility and accountability. I think he's telling these stories to sort of shift the narrative and change the topics of conversation. The Parmesan cheese thing was not funny. It was not appropriate, and I think it's almost making light of people that struggle with addiction. If you compare his behavior to people's behavior on the right would be completely vilified, told that they would be investigated by the Department of Justice, to be removed from office. I know Hunter isn't in office, but we have to realize why such a double standard. This is the president of the United States' son. By the way, he also has an illegitimate child that he denied having when he was under the influence of drugs with someone who's in adult entertainment. So this is a guy that has a lot of demons in his past. We should also realize there is such a double standard in Washington. It's truly sad, and something has to change.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And, there's a chance that he could be indicted while his father is president.
Punchline. Have you guys seen that clip on the internet of him in his black Secret Service SUV being handed a bicycle and then riding said bicycle to the press conference like 3 blocks?
Right.
I mean,
can I just say something,
is what
Rob?
these Democrat politicians are doing to us.
Emerald, go ahead. You guys are coming right back after the break, too, so we can pick this back up, but go ahead.
So I was just going to say that the Republican talking point about raising corporate tax rates is just not going to resonate with voters.
Right. Executive Director of USA Strong, Erin Elmore, and political analyst Mark Halperin, also a beautiful thing. Mark, good to see you. Cutting the CDC and CNN, they are also headquartered in Atlanta.
Wouldn't that be nice? But that would never happen because the left controls the narrative 24/7.
Right.
But we touched on the All-Star game and Coca-Cola. These corporations feign care for American citizens, Delta as well. These airlines all require ID. If you want to buy a beer at the game, you have to show an ID.
Yep.
Mets Stadium in New York is doing a vaccine passport. Now that requires a form of ID. So really, where is the consistency here? There is none, and that is the problem. It's this pandering to the left. It's pandering to the woke culture. It's feigning concern for the African American and underserved communities, but not actually living up to it. And I think what we need to do is hold these corporations accountable. By the way, MLB has never had an African American commissioner. Has MLB spoken to their minority players about their needs, wants, and desires regarding Atlanta? So to be honest, Coca-Cola, they should have to do the same thing too. Why? What are you doing to employ and add to your African American workforce? And I will bet you, if we hold their feet to the fire, they're going to zip it up real quick.
Donna, the state of New York.
Well, they just told their white employees to be less white, Erin. Remember that? Coca-Cola?
Yeah, of course.
Donna,
That'll do the trick if we just act less white.
That'll solve all problems. Exactly. The state of New York.
80% minorities.
Right.
In Atlanta. So they're hurting the very people in their jobs that they claim to be for. Atlanta has only 40% of the Atlanta population is white.
One member, Donna Jackson. Executive Director of USA Strong, Erin Elmore, is here, and political analyst Mark Halperin back with us as well. Easter weekend, so many people have so much going on with family and church and kids and egg hunts and Easter bunnies. A lot of people are away from the news. So let's get everybody caught up. I want to talk a little bit about infrastructure, and I'm going to do something I don't normally do. I'm going to play you 2 sound bites because I want people to get both sides of this issue and sort of how it was playing out on the Sunday shows. Here's Pete Buttigieg on how raising the corporate tax rate's a good thing. Take a listen.
That the vision the president has put forward is fully paid for. Across 15 years, it would raise all of the revenue needed for these once-in-a-lifetime investments.
The Senate, who was there in 2017, voted for the 2017 tax bill.
Right, the economy was doing well, and I think what we've learned from the last few days is that Democrats can say anything they want with no accountability. The media will not question them, and just because they say it doesn't make it so. This infrastructure bill has absolutely nothing to do with infrastructure. Free community college has nothing to do with infrastructure. Racist highways are absolutely insane, and that's what people are saying about things that they want to do with this infrastructure bill, is move highways because they're racist. That defies logic and doesn't even pass the smell test. The American people people are starting to wake up and realizing that this woke culture that the Democrats are promoting isn't helping them feed their children and send their children to school and help line their pocketbooks and help pay for their taxes. This is a massive problem in America. And if these Democrats don't wake up, let's hope that we see in the midterm elections a massive change, because what is being done right now to help the American people? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Emerald, I just want to ask you quickly before we move on to the border, but do we have any information about when and who is going to be invited? Quickly, though, we talked about this earlier. How many ballot drop boxes were there in Georgia for the midterms in 2018? Exactly.
Zero. Goose egg.
Goose
Only
egg.
implemented because of coronavirus.
Exactly. And there will be drop boxes in 2022. Panel, really enjoyed the conversation today. Nice to see all of you. Hope you had a great weekend. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
I'm always here for a quiz.
Appreciate it, Erin. All right. When we come back.